Ever wonder why pumpkins are such a big deal in Texas? I'll have more.
Ever wonder what it's like to dangle off a skyscraper? We'll show you how.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV Nightly News.
Thanks for joining us on ntTV Nightly News. I'm Isabella Quintanilla.
And I'm David Castillo. Late this afternoon, the mayor of Dallas, Eric Johnson, announced he had come down with COVID-19. He tested positive earlier today and has canceled the remainder of the week's events. Johnson was vaccinated and said he is confident this breakthrough case will be mild. Johnson said he is strongly urging all Dallas residents to get vaccinated. Mayor Johnson's wife, Nikki, is also fully vaccinated. They have 3 small children.
This just in, the FDA Advisory Committee has voted in favor for the authorization use of the Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. The voting was nearly unanimous, with 17 members backing it and 1 abstention, in which followed a discussion where some committee members were concerned about voting for this vaccine based upon the studies they have done before. CNN's Isabella Rosales has more on this story.
Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine is one step closer to becoming available to its youngest patients yet.
I think we all have been feeling the urgency for a vaccine for children for quite some time.
On Tuesday, an independent FDA advisory committee voted to recommend the shots for kids 5 to 11 years old under emergency use.
17 voted yes.
After weighing potential benefits to possible risks. If authorized by the full FDA, it would be the same vaccine adults receive, but smaller. 2 doses, 21 days apart. Each dose, 10 micrograms, a third of the size used for people's ages 12 and older. Pfizer's data shows its vaccine generated a robust antibody response in kids 5 to 11 and says it is safe and 90.7% effective against symptomatic COVID-19 in that age group.
One shouldn't actually discount the fact that kids can get pretty sick with COVID-19. Sadly, more than 700 children have died of COVID since this pandemic began. This would be one significant step forward in getting our country really in a better place.
The FDA says the shots carry a theoretical rare risk for the age group of inflammation of the heart muscle and lining, but the risk of COVID-19 is higher if enough virus is circulating. Now, it's up to the FDA to make the final decision. And next month, the CDC will vote on whether to recommend it. With the director's okay, vaccines could be available to younger children by early November. In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
The Pfizer's vaccine is already authorized under emergency use for children 12 to 15 and is fully approved for those who are age 16 and older.
You know, I was going to take a walk around campus earlier, but I wasn't sure if I was going to need a hoodie or not. I mean, it's been crazy.
Yes, the weather has been very fickle as of late, but let's hope weather anchor Hannah Gonzalez has some good news for us. Hannah?
Well, Isabel and David, we've had warmer days this past week, but that doesn't seem to be the case today. As we sit at 85 degrees, feels about the same at 82. Now we do see an 18-mile-per-hour wind speed coming from the southeast with partly cloudy skies. Once we move into tonight's conditions, those clouds will push through as temperatures drop. We'll sit at 80 degrees, feels even cooler at 77. Now let's take a quick look at tomorrow's conditions. Temperatures will be a bit cooler than what we've been seeing. We're going to sit at 74 degrees, feels about the same at 72. Now we do see a 65% chance of rain throughout the morning, but I'll break down Wednesday's conditions during that 7-day forecast. Now I'm standing in front of pumpkins right now, and we all know that Halloween was made for children, but it's the adults that appreciate it the most, and especially college students. I heard there was a spooky event on campus today. Isn't that right, David?
You're absolutely right, Hannah. It was standing room only today because Halloween took on a fuzzy feel. Each month, the UNT Program Council hosts art workshops, and today it was plush skeletons. You could work under the guidance of one of Denton's popular art design studios, Egan Street Design. Their workshops today let UNT students express their Halloween creativity in a different way, making ghosts, skeletons, spooky cats, and a whole assortment of Halloween characters. There were 2 craft sessions, and both were sellouts. Lots of students getting into the holiday spirit.
But you know, with Halloween on my mind, I've been neglecting the fall pumpkin patch fun. Our reporter Wendy Starks is live to tell us more about pumpkin patches.
In honor of National Pumpkin Day, I've decided to spend my day with some pumpkins, and patches just like these are all throughout the High Plains region in Lubbock. The pumpkin farms date back to the 1960s and 80s, and they produce around 2 million pumpkins annually from more than 30 farms in this region. No two pumpkins look the same, and they require special care because they can't take the Texas heat and require a ton of water. So remember, when you're carving your fall pumpkin, they might have been grown right here in the Lone Star State. If you guys have a chance, be sure to come out and look at all the different kinds of pumpkins your patch has to offer. Back to you guys in the studio.
That looks like a lot of fun. Thanks, Wendy. Besides going to pumpkin patches, there are other ways to get into the Halloween spirit. The fast food restaurant Chipotle is unveiling its annual Burrito Halloween deal. Chipotle is moving the promotion to online this season due to the pandemic. Now, in order to get a free burrito, customers must visit its virtual location on their mobile platform. From there, put on a virtual costume and beat its Chipotle Burrito maze. The first 30,000 customers who participate will get a code. You will then use this code on Chipotle's website or mobile app to finally get that free burrito. The virtual Burrito deal will go on from October 28th through the 31st.
Coming up next, weather across the nation is getting more and more violent. We have details on why.
You may be wondering why the fountains have been gated. We'll have more when we come back.
Okay, Dad.
report from the United Nations says that the concentration of greenhouse gases has reached levels that mirror those of 3 million years ago. The report found that the COVID-19 pandemic temporarily decreased new emissions, but the overall concentration of carbon dioxide continues to rise. CO2 levels today are nearly 150% higher than levels back in the 1800s, during the beginning of the industrialization. The impact of climate change is growing at such a rate some scientists are concerned we may not be able to reverse the damage. ntTV's Nathan Mayer has been following this issue and joins us now in studio with a look at some of the more specific examples of climate change on a global level. Nathan?
Thanks, Isabella. Over the past year, major climate change has affected every corner of the Earth. 85% of the world's population has felt its effects. If we take a look in the United States at New York, we'll see that Central Park experienced record-setting rainfall on September 1st with 3.15 inches storming down in just 1 hour. Moving east onto Germany, in July, the heaviest rainfall of the century left over 150 people dead, in which scientists linked to a warmer atmosphere retaining more water. And taking a trip down south towards South Sudan, according to the United Nations Refugee Agency, torrential rain in the month of October affected more than 700,000 people. And flooding isn't the only change in the climate, though. Heat played a major factor in this past year's weather. 64% of Americans lived in areas that witnessed multi-day heat waves this summer, and July marked the hottest month on Earth ever recorded. The United States and Europe both recorded their hottest summers ever this year. And that trend continues as millions of Americans are facing severe threats of weather. Just this week, a storm system is affecting the East Coast. Tornadoes are spinning in the Midwest, and the West Coast is recovering from record-breaking rainfall. CNN's Britt Conway has more.
Rain and wind heading up the East Coast, tornadoes ripping through parts of the Midwest, and record-breaking storms on the West Coast. A triple play of extreme weather. 70 million Americans on the East Coast are bracing for severe weather. The National Weather Service says a powerful autumn nor'easter is headed to the Northeast and New England, bringing high wind and heavy rain today, prompting several flash flood watches in the Northeast, along with a pre-storm state of emergency in New Jersey and more than 20 counties in New York. In the Midwest, from Illinois to Missouri, people are cleaning up after tornadoes ripped through towns and ripped apart homes.
It's heartbreaking. See your life for 20 years gone.
Parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas could get tornadoes too, as strong storms head their way today. The West Coast had its own walloping from Mother Nature, snow in one part of California and torrential rain in other areas of the state. Even still, it wasn't enough to make a dent in the drought, but it did raise the alarm in an area hit by fire recently.
With intense rainfall, all of that's going to break loose and come flying down the canyons.
Which is why people were asked to evacuate.
We pretty much have two seasons, fire season and storm season, and looks like we're into storm season all of a sudden.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Thanks, Nathan. None of that looks fun. And I know it's Halloween week, but that weather's a little more terrifying than I'd like to see.
Yes, I was hoping for some cooler weather, but that's a bit extreme. Now let's head over to our weather anchor, Hannah Gonzalez, for a look at this week's Spooky Outlook.
Well, Isabel and David, everyone wants that fall weather, but we live in Texas and we have to be realistic. But I don't think you'll be disappointed with this week's weather. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at our North Texas map. We can see Gainesville, Bowie, and Sherman are all sitting at 81 degrees, McKinney at 83. Now let's go ahead and zoom out and look at our state map. Denton will be the warmest city at 85, Houston and Amarillo at 80 degrees. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that 7-day forecast. On Wednesday, I mentioned earlier, we'll see a 65% chance of morning showers. However, once night comes around, it's going to be clear and breezy. For a majority of the week, we'll see sunny skies. Thursday, we'll have a high of 72, low of 53. Starting that Halloween weekend on Friday, it's going to be the coolest day out of the week, sitting at 70 degrees with a low of 40. Now on Saturday, we'll have a high of 75, and on Halloween, it's going to be a warm day sitting at a high of 79. Now Monday and Tuesday, we're going to have showers with a 25% chance on Monday and a 30% chance on Tuesday, but of course, we'll keep you updated as the week progresses. That's all I have for weather tonight. Make sure you have a safe Halloween weekend. Isabella and David, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Hannah. You know, David, I've noticed that the fountains on campus have been shut off lately.
You know, I actually noticed that too. I was a little confused about why they weren't on, but maybe reporter Alyssa Yatarte is at one of those fountains now, and maybe she can tell us what's happening.
That's right, you guys. I'm here in front of the fountains located in the Library Mall. The fountains have been shut off since the beginning of the summer, and you will not see them in action till the end of November. The reason why the fountains are shut off is because of UNT Facilities' ongoing equipment project. Project manager Carl Parsons explains that the fountains have been offline a lot in the past few years because of the issues that this project intends to alleviate. The equipment is currently located in underground vaults, but they are moving it above ground, making it easier to locate when there is flooding on campus. Once the fountains are fixed, Parsons hopes that the iconic fountains will continue to instill school spirit. If you want to stay up to date on this project and others happening on campus, you can follow UNT Facilities on social media. That's all I have for you guys. Back to y'all in the studio.
Thank you, Alyssa. Coming up next, we will talk about UNT handicap parking, or lack thereof.
And the CEO and founder of Spanx has a $1 billion idea to give back to her employees. One big concern for both Dallas and Fort Worth is the potential spread of COVID through big events, particularly sporting events. The Dallas Mavericks play their opening game tonight, and ntTV sports anchor Lincoln Revel is at the AAC with more COVID precautions. Lincoln?
Thanks, Isabella. I'm here at the beautiful American Airlines Center where the Dallas Mavericks are getting set to take on the Houston Rockets in just over an hour. Now, prior to today's game, Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban announced that the team will be relaxing their COVID restrictions as long as COVID cases stay down. Cuban announced earlier this week that as long as the daily average case count in Dallas County remains below 500, fans will not be required to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test before entering the game. Dallas becomes now one of 15 teams to not require fans to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. The remaining 14 teams require at least partial vaccination of all fans. Now, although no negative vaccination or COVID test is required to enter American Airlines Center, the team does ask that fans wear masks at all times while in American Airlines Center. Now, these changes will also not be coming into effect for today's game. However, the team is expected to put them into effect in the coming weeks. I'll be back in just a few moments with sports, but for now, David and Isabel, back to you.
Thanks, David. According to the UNT transportation bylaws, handicapped students must pay for UNT parking passes in order to park in a handicapped spot on campus. However, one handicapped student disagrees with this rule. With everything finally starting to return to in-person, parking on campus has quickly become a big issue. For one handicapped student, the parking situation has brought up other issues regarding handicapped parking here at UNT.
I have been walking on forearm crutches since my 7th grade year, so since I was 12. My right leg is pretty normal, functions normally, and my left leg is extremely weak, and that's the main reason why I have the crutches and a leg brace that holds my ankle up, so I am able to walk a little better, but I can't walk long distances, or like my endurance is really low.
Being handicapped, she should always be able to park right next to her class, but unfortunately that's not always the case.
I have a class at Hickory that's all the way over on Fry Street, and there's not really any handicap parking near there. That's like an acceptable distance to walk.
Brooke has an ADA handicap plate which allows her to park in any handicap spot, but according to UNT bylaws, only DV plates are exempt from parking fees.
To me, it just seems unfair to require us to pay in handicap spots that are like legally we are able to park in them, like the law, like we can park, like we're handicapped people, so we can park in handicap spot, and it just seems odd that they're telling us we can't unless we have a UNT parking pass. It's like having the placard or the plates still isn't enough. We still have to pay money and not even be guaranteed a spot.
However, communications specialist for UNT Transportation George Steeran has a different opinion.
The general rule is that if you park on UNT's campus, you have to have a parking pass. So in my opinion, it wouldn't be fair for student A to pay and student B not to pay.
Despite this fact, many handicapped students are unhappy with the circumstances and hope to see some changes soon. George Steeran encourages students to reach out to UNT Transportation with any concerns regarding parking.
There's no question that UNT takes pride in the food they serve to their students. In fact, UNT is home to the nation's first all-vegan dining hall, celebrating its 10 years of service next Wednesday. ntTV's Brooke Deering has more on what Mean Greens Cafe is all about. Brooke?
Thanks, David. Becoming vegan doesn't mean relying on a salad for every meal of the day. In fact, it actually opens up a world of food you may never have tried before. And what better way to test the waters than checking out the Mean Greens all-vegan cafeteria? Take a look.
Welcome to Mean Greens Cafe, the very first vegan-based college cafeteria in the country, located in UNT's own Maple Hall.
So for 10 years now, we've been an all plant-based dining facility, very first one in the country on a college or university campus, and we take an extreme amount of pride in that.
Williams has taken his experience in fine dining and hotels to turn this new environment into an award-winning cafeteria, most recently earning the 2020 title for Best Vegan Dish in the country for a college university campus.
The biggest thing here is growing our own greens and herbs here. We have our own hydroponic trailer we've had for almost 6 years now, and we bring fresh greens and fresh herbs pretty much from farm to table right outside our own door.
At Mean Green Acres, they grow plants vertically, allowing hydroponic farmers like Aaron Klarner to grow more plants using less space. Using the drip system, they're able to grow around 12 to 14 plants in each tower by letting 5 gallons of water drip down each of the towers and cycle through. This grants for less waste and healthier greens. With only 5% of the vegan population regularly eating here, it is evident that the rest of the university students are open to this new and healthier lifestyle. The Mean Greens Cafe takes pride in the fact that their UNT foods are grown here, cooked here, and served here.
Who knew that living green could also mean eating green? Veganism helps to create a healthy environment as well as a healthier lifestyle. Luckily, with the help of award-winning Mean Greens Cafe, becoming a part of this change has been made easy. With a variety of foods and credibility, this UNT cafeteria is the place to be, especially during its special lunch celebration November 3rd. You don't want to miss it. For ntTV News, I'm Brooke Deering, sending it back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Brooke. A new $1 billion deal will let employees go on a much-needed vacation. The founder and CEO of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, has given all of her employees $10,000 as well as 2 first-class tickets to anywhere they want to go. Blakely posted a video of her surprise employees to Instagram last week. Spanx just closed a $1.2 billion deal with Blackstone.
Okay, so the Rangers aren't in the playoffs, but if I'm not mistaken, it's World Series time.
David, it's one of the most wonderful times of the year, baseball time in October. Lincoln, how are my Atlanta Braves stacking up against the Houston Astros?
Yeah, guys, as a diehard Rangers fan, I'm definitely going to have to be cheering for the Braves in this series. However, they're going to have their work cut out for them against the other team from Texas. I'll have more right after the break. "165 days after the Mavericks last played a regular season game at the American Airlines Center, the place is set to be filled with blue and silver as the Houston Rockets come to town tonight. Coming off of a win in Toronto and with new head coach Jason Kidd running the ship, the Mavs are hoping to stop a couple of opening night trends with the Rockets tonight. First off, the Mavs have lost 4 of their last 6 home openers over the last 6 years, along with losing the only 3 home openers that they've had against the Rockets in team history so far. Tonight also marks the first of 4 meetings between these 2 teams this season, which sparks another unfortunate trend, which is the fact that the Mavs are trying to win their first seasonal series against the Rockets since the 2012-2013 season. The road to breaking all of these trends that I just mentioned starts tonight at 7:30. And now moving on to staying on the basketball topic, going to the college level, we are now just 2 weeks away from the start of the UNT men's and women's basketball season. Both teams are set to be back in the Super Pit on November 9th, and both teams are expecting big seasons this year. Most notably, the UNT men's team is looking for another great season after advancing to the second round of March Madness last season. After getting a taste of the madness and with the return of key players Thomas Bell and Mardrez McBride, the Mean Green are looking to make a return to the tournament this season. The women's team will start their season against the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma, and the men's team will play against Oklahoma Christian shortly after. And with the beginning of basketball season comes the end of America's pastime. The 2021 Fall Classic is set to start tonight with the Houston Astros hosting the Atlanta Braves. The American League Houston Astros are in the World Series for the third time in the past 5 years, and they're looking for their first World Series win since that 2017 season. On the other hand, the Atlanta Braves are in the World Series for the first time since 1999, and they'll be fighting to win their first World Series since the 1995 season. Now, I know that I'm going to make a lot of people mad here because everybody thinks that you're supposed to cheer for the Texas team in this, but I'm going to have to go with my gut here, and although the Red Sox are out of the running, I'm going to have to go with the other team here and say, go Braves. That's all for me for tonight. Back to y'all in the studio.
Can't argue with anything you said, Lincoln. Have you ever thought about climbing the highest external building in the world? Now you have the opportunity to do so. If you plan on visiting New York City, you may want to give this new attraction a try. For $185, guests are able to take more than 190 steps to ascend nearly 1,200 feet in the air. Once you reach the top, you'll be greeted by an outdoor sky deck where guests can enjoy great views of the city and literally hang off the side of the skyscraper. Upon reaching the top, you can enjoy a champagne toast, take a deep breath, and relax. Oh.
Thanks for watching ntTV Nightly News. Join us again tomorrow night at 6 here on North Texas Television.